This episode of Creative Control is brought to you by HelloFresh. Love cooking delicious, wholesome meals for you and your loved ones, but aren't sure what to make?
Yeah.
HelloFresh delivers an entire menu item's worth of ingredients right to your door with step-by-step recipes so that you could prepare a gourmet meal quickly without stressing out about a grocery list. Meal options change every week, so if you live in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, or the Maritimes, please visit hellofresh.ca for great food at a great price. And as a special incentive to my listeners, when you go to hellofresh.ca, use the code CREATIVE50, that's creative with a K, 50, to receive 50% off the price of your first box of HelloFresh. That's hellofresh.ca. They plan, they shop, you cook. A Tribe Called Red is an inventive DJ collective based in Ottawa, Ontario. The trio consists of Ian DJ NDN Campo of the Nipissing First Nation, Tim Toolman Hill Mohawk of the Six Nations of the Grand River, and Aaron Bear Witness Thomas of the Cayuga First Nation. The band's third and latest album is a stirring one called We Are the Hallucination, which is out now via Radicalized Records and was nominated as a shortlist contender for the 2017 Polaris Music Prize. A few days ago, A Tribe Called Red met with me in Toronto to discuss each and every song on We Are the Hallucination, and it was a revealing and insightful conversation about its multi-layered concept, the album's many esteemed guests, and A Tribe Called Red's collective state of mind since ascending as one of Canada's most vibrant and significant bands. Sponsored by Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, Planet Bean Coffee, Granddad's Donuts, and Hello Fresh Canada, this is A Tribe Called Red on the 347th episode of Creative Control with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Tribe Called Red, thank you so much for making time and being on my show. It's nice to see you all. Bear, how's it going?
Not too bad. Yeah, good to be here.
And Tim?
Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
It's nice to have you here. And Ian?
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. You guys drove all the way from Ottawa to an we're in an undisclosed location right now. You can tell by the decor, right? It's like anything could happen to any of us, and no one would know.
It's pretty bunker-esque.
Yeah, which is a good sign for these times.
I think you're right. Yeah. We are prepared. If anything goes down, we'll be fine. We're going to talk extensively about this
laughter.
We're going to talk extensively about We Are the Hallucination in a moment, but I want to go back to the moments before the conception of this record, because as a musical artist, if you're lucky, you'll make a record that changes your lives or your life. And I think it's fair to say Nation to Nation probably changed your lives significantly. So I kind of want to go back to the end of that cycle, the end of the mania, if you will, of promoting and touring behind Nation to Nation, and your mindset going in to starting to make tracks for this record, because I imagine a lot of that experience would inform where you went next. So I'm looking around the table. This is a big question, I can tell. I want to start with Bear. I think Bear should feel this first.
Yeah, well, as many people probably know, we had a change in people in the group in
That's
between
true.
these records. So that's really where this record started, was with starting to work with Tim. One of the first meetings that we had with Tim joining after he had joined the group was, okay, what are we going to do about this album?
Right.
Because we had been about, I would say, almost a year into making an album with Dan.
This is DJ Shub, who was a turntablist as well as a producer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to leave the idea that we were working on and start from scratch on something completely new with a new member who, Tim was a friend. He was somebody that we had done a small amount of work with, like a week probably in the studio with Oka in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
About, what was that? Probably about 6 months before that.
Yeah. In like September or October, I think we got together and worked with Oka, and I was in Winnipeg when they were in the city.
Okay, but you're not from Winnipeg, Tim.
No,
you're from Ontario.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. You just happened to be
in Winnipeg.
Happened to be in Winnipeg. I see. Okay.
But we ended up having a meeting in Ottawa. Like we actually, it was the starting of the way that we made this album was the Walter White approach to recording, where we were renting Airbnbs wherever we could and recording in the basements of them.
Interesting figurehead to follow.
We had to bring in all the equipment and set up like our own little studios.
Kind of Heisenberg this record
exactly.
to life? Okay.
It was like, I wonder if the people who were renting these houses know what's going on in their basements.
Yeah, huge tarps over the Tribe Called Red Labs. Yeah. Okay.
But that first time that we brought Tim in, and myself and Ian and our road manager Buddha was there as well, and then another big part of putting together this whole project, Saul guy was there with us.
Oh, Saul. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we all sat down and just really kind of put all of the pressure of production aside and just spent some time all getting to know each other, and just talking about where we wanted to go and what we wanted to get out of this next album.
Right.
So this whole album came from a very centered and direct place that was saying, like, okay, let's create something that is bigger than what we've done in the past.
Ian, I think externally the Tribe Called Red are thought of as three producers. With Dan leaving, how did that alter your approach to music making? I mean, by what Bear's saying, his absence felt like it was going to be, that was going to be a hard person to replace. Luckily, you have Tim here, but is that perception accurate? Is it three equal people coming up with the sound of a Tribe Called Red?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
absolutely. Yeah, we all kind of grew up and have our own flavors, and you definitely hear it in the different songs and the different productions. You can hear like who put in what, and it's interesting to listen back to it and hear like what made it and what got cut.
Yeah, yeah. Tim replacing DJ Shub, was that daunting for you?
It wasn't necessarily daunting. It was just more of it was just really important to keep the name A Tribe Called Red going and evolving.
Yeah.
So I've known these guys for a minute, like previous to that, and like I became a fan of them.
Yeah.
And then like we even spent some time like in the studio, like Bear said. We spent some time doing that, and we actually spent time in my studio as well. Like like we really bonded like previous to me joining, but when I joined, it was a lot on the plate for sure. It was like like to take the Tribe sound and me becoming a part of it. Like that was the hardest part. So it was basically like 3 years of me being around the most amazing DJs, and hearing new sounds and new genres and electronic music in general, like being around it like every day, all day.
Is that your background?
No. My background is like hip hop and R&B.
Right.
And, I produced like even metal records back in the day. So this was like something completely
totally
brand new. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So then, like being around these guys, it really like broadened my spectrum of like what music is in a lot of sense. So this was basically like about 13 years of like me on my musical journey, and then meeting up with these guys and completely merging with the sound that was
Right.
already created,
Right.
and then just basically with the intention of evolving it. That was it.
Yeah,
Like,
Bear mentioned this notion of trying to create something bigger for more people, basically. Trying to do something more inclusive, is that right?
I don't think so. I think
Is that wrong? Is that the wrong? Okay.
Well, I think bigger was. I mean, it's a pretty broad thing to say, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but it had a lot to do with pushing ourselves and getting ourselves to move beyond just the kind of dance floor music that we were making.
Yeah.
And create something that, create an album that wasn't just a collection of songs was a thing right away. Let's have an album that actually is an album from beginning to end.
As a conceptual framework?
Yeah, it tells a story. It tells more emotion than just, build up, drop, build up, drop.
I'm excited about this because I'm curious to learn more about this dichotomy between the hallucination and the alienation, the alienation, and I imagine we're going to we're going to learn more about this. So I think we should begin. Gentlemen, are we ready to begin
Let's do it.
the process of going through this record? We're going to begin with a track that features the voice of John Trudell and Northern Voice. We are the hallucination.
We are the tribe that they cannot see. We live on an industrial reservation. We are the hallucination. We have been called the Indians. We have been called Native American. We have been called hostile. We have been called pagan. We have been called militant. We have been called many names. We are the hallucination.
John had been on the wish list of people that we wanted to work with for years at that point. And we had come close to being connected with him through different relatives and friends and such, and it just, I guess, wasn't the right moment for a long time. And we were playing a show in New Mexico, and this is still a year before we started working on the album or so. And we heard that John Trudell was there, and he wanted to introduce us at the show that night.
Oh, he wanted to MC the show?
Yeah, just to talk before we played. And so...
And where was he based at that time?
In San Francisco.
In San Francisco, he's
Yeah.
California based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he came before sound check, and before we could put anything forward about wanting to collaborate or anything like that, he was just explaining to us what it meant, our music to him and what we were doing with our music. And then he just started pulling out a notepad and was like, "Hey, if I recorded this, could you do something with it? Would you be interested in doing something with this or that?" So it, we knew that there was an interest from him definitely to record and to do something, and to collaborate. But it was still a while before we were producing the album. And when it came around time to ask him to make something for the album, this idea of having a conceptual record was already kind of in the works, and was going through a lot of different phases. With we were thinking about kind of a comic book thing at one point, and even went as far to start talking to a comic book artist at one point.
Wow.
About collaborating on something. And then this kind of idea around bandits and outlaws came about. And then John sent us a poem that wasn't this one. It was another poem he sent us at first, and was trying to get into the studio and record it. He did, and we got the recordings from him, but then tagged on to the end was also, "Oh, I got this other poem for you that you guys might like." And that was
We Are the Hallucination.
We Are the Hallucination. And, we had been searching for this storyline to carry the whole album, and then all of a sudden we were looking right at it, that John had given us exactly what we needed to tell a story with this record. So we moved on it super fast, and it was like, okay, this is going to be the title of the record. We're going to, if you look at the cover of the album, that patch, that actual photograph, the patch that's in the photograph was made weeks after we made the decision to make the album The Hallucination. I got on the phone right away with the artist who did our last album, Ernesto, and said, "John gave us this idea about The Hallucination. We want to make it a real nation." And he was like, "Well, I've made, several emblems for real nations here."
Oh.
I see. He's like, "I know exactly where you want to go with this."
Okay.
And I already had this idea in my head of seeing the patch And right away, he was like, can we make it a patch?
Yeah.
So that prototype, that's like a 10-inch prototype of the patch that Guillaume, our manager, got made up. Like it happened like within a month.
I noticed you're sporting it on the back of your jean vest, if I
Yeah,
may.
yeah.
Is that the right term?
Yeah,
jean vest?
Yeah.
Okay, denim vest. Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful. What does this imagery say, Ian? What do you make of what's going on in this patch?
It says the great seal of the hallucination, 500 years and still drumming. Our DNA is earth and sky.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a turtle, which is representative of Turtle Island, which is North America. And it's got a picture of North and South America on the turtle's back. And it's got eagle wings coming off of the turtle.
Right.
So that's representing the earth and sky, and then the 500 years and still drumming, and it has 4 drumsticks around it.
Right. That's a description. Tim, does this signify something to you beyond what it looks like?
Yeah, definitely. It to me, like, it creates like a nationhood. You know, like I grew up on a reserve called Six Nations, and we have a seal as well, and it looks just like that. Like, you know, it's
really?
It has not just like it, but it has like that feeling of what that is. So, it was definitely like the thing we needed to begin the whole record.
There's a galvanizing aspect to a seal like this. Why is that important? Why is it important to have a common symbol? I mean, I guess every country has a common symbol. They have flags and whatnot. I guess it's the same thing. It's a feeling of unity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And being able to recognize someone with, common ideas and beliefs right away.
Yeah. As a place, did John Trudell conceive of this notion of the hallucination? Or is this something that is this something he conjured? Is this something that you've talked about before?
No. This is
it's totally.
He just came up with it. Yeah.
He came up with it completely. Yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure. And forgive my ignorance, but when you hear Turtle Island and you figure out that it represents, North America, then I hear hallucination. I'm like, this must be something I have not heard of before or wasn't taught to me. But you're saying, for a lot of people, this might be the first we've ever encountered this term, hallucination, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yourselves included.
As a nation.
Yeah.
Well, what happened, the end of that story is that, we really ran with this and pushed it forward, got the patch and all of that made. And I realized, oh, man, I never talked to John about this. Like, I don't know if that's
right.
how he meant or ever envisioned this thing happening.
Yeah.
So I shot him an email just saying, here's a picture of the patch. We made this thing. We're running with it. It's the album title. We're going to make it. We're going to make it a real thing. And he just wrote back, thank you. The hallucination is real.
Nice. That's
so
amazing.
Like,
wow.
We think we really, caught what he was putting out because it's exactly, I think, where he wanted it to go.
What do you want to say about Northern Voice? We've talked about John's contribution, but there's obviously a soundtrack to this poem. Mm-hmm. What can we say about that? Does anyone want to talk about the sound of this first track?
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember building this idea back home in Winnipeg and, coming up with the soundscape of it. Mm-hmm. And then I brought it to Victoria Island, and we were played. It was that festival with the big tent. Me and you.
The festival.
It was just you two?
It was just us two, yeah.
Oh, big tent.
And Cumberland.
And Cumberland.
Oh, Cumberland. Oh,
yeah. So
it's a nice little
Vancouver Island. Victoria Island's in Ottawa.
Yeah, no. Yeah, sorry.
Cumberland's a nice little spot.
Atmosphere
Festival.
Okay.
And then when we stay there, we stay at this house all the time.
Yeah.
In Cumberland. And it's a beautiful home. I forget the people who...
Is it Corwin? No, I'm just sorry. I know. I recorded in Cumberland once on a tour.
It's legit, just like a
like people who just give their house.
Yeah. This is what I stayed there, so that's why I was oh, weird. Maybe it's probably the same, but who knows?
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
So then, I approached this idea. I had this idea for the beat, and I remember playing it out, and we're sitting on the table. And Bear's like, yeah, this is dope. Yeah. And but I had some like really different drums on it. So then we just started to work with it right there. And that was kind of like the first track. And then it wasn't our intention to throw John on it, but we have been trying to put John in something for a while.
Right.
Like for at least like 4 months, I think we were working on conceptual ideas where it went through a bunch of changes. But yeah, that fit perfectly.
Okay.
And then I remember chopping up the Northern Voice sample, and it was given to us by Robert over at Tribal Spirit.
Okay.
They give us acapellas of the drums that record with him. So we're really lucky to get like these sort of like these two kinds of stems. We get like drums from them and acapellas where they sing without the drums, and then they do chants too, or eagle calls and like other one shots that they give us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this came in the bank of stuff that we had, and I cut it up and kind of based the whole melody around it.
Well,
and then
fortuitous that it's an amazing opener. So,
yeah. We were wondering if it was really going to hold up to be an opener, but you know, like you're going to hear about throughout this whole entire process, you know, like this album never really truly came together till the last 3 months.
Okay.
Before we finally put it together, we spent a lot of time in Ottawa,
okay.
and that was one that we knew that was going to be the intro, and we had to make it like what it sounds like now.
Yeah.
So
okay.
The original version of that song is like 100% different.
Yeah.
Like it came from a totally different place to where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And
you can say that about all of them.
Yep.
I've been hearing that a lot as I talk to people about their records. You
Yeah.
know, that a song might have 30 versions before they were like, or like they started with nothing, put a bunch of layers on, and then at the end they're like, let's just go back to nothing. Like they're just like very sparse. And I imagine you must go through this too, where you're just like layer, 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 and then you're like, the core of it's lost now, right? Yeah.
Well, that's that. I find that, you know what that was great about being involved in this whole thing, because like I'm a guy that kind of like could add great idea after great idea after great idea, and like it just kind of like build onto this thing.
Yeah.
It's great to have another like 2 pairs of ears to basically hold me back from like, you know, oh, that's enough, you know, like, and you know, and I think with this particular record, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was one of those moments, eureka moments that we had throughout this whole growing together as a group.
Yeah.
It made it like this was like an aha moment. And also there was a lot of experimenting with like modular synths and like creating sound versus finding a sound on a keyboard and making it. A lot of that was like made through a modular.
Oh, okay.
So like it was, we created our whole new sound, our own sound.
Right.
And a lot of it was even like a lot of analog gear went into that song.
Well, it's an amazing opener. I feel like we could talk more about it. I want to get more to the... I assume as we go, we're going to talk more about this notion of the hallucination. So maybe, is everyone okay to move on to the next song? Because like I say, we could keep going. So the next song features Yassine Bey, Narcy, and Black Bear. It's called R.E.D. If you will indulge me for one moment, I need to show you something.
all right.
I want to show you something that frequently of late, I've been telling people, I've been feeling self-conscious. I keep talking about my son. He's 6 years old, and he loves music, and we've been listening to lots of music together. And he did this today, and I just want you to hear it and see it, and let me know what you think.
Oh, hey, so will everybody go? Freak, no, don't ask them, what do they know? What I forgot is better than whatever they remember. Never mind, I'm off it, squash them. I'm a booking temperature, it's going to go. Boss, no, circle around, like all thunder, the daylight, light in the front. Hood, moon, stars in the hunt.
You can stop me whenever you want.
Oh, this is amazing.
Big streets, you full song, feathers,
Wow.
ain't scared no more. It's a ball and step.
He's a big Black Star fan, too.
Oh, nice.
Stop flying, die long, super flies, like you'll be diving off. You white lion, homie. You want
How old is he?
6.
Big scene, heart, dig, dig,
Loves
dig,
hip-hop
wire,
and rap
big dick,
and
big
just
big shit,
obsessed
I
with this
want
song.
to be. Now I'm so living fake.
Ask my wife how great it is to have a kid. Just nonstop.
Rapid.
Wow.
You got a taste. He does the whole thing, by the way.
Wow.
He does Narcy next, and there's a squirrel in the background.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Beatboxing, I think. I just wanted to share.
No, that's incredible.
Watch the planet burn.
Yeah.
For the cancer.
He's So I talked to him about that song. So that is my son doing RED.
Wow.
You're having quite an impact on my family, is what I'm saying, and this song is impactful.
Bismillah. Hey. Sure living by the G code. What the fuck is fleek though? Don't ask them, what do we know? What I forgot is better than whatever they remember. Never mind, I'm off it, it's quiet form. Time to put the temper tantrums to the quiet corner. Hush, that's enough, said the ruler. No suckers allowed to break bread or asunder. The daylight, lightning and the thunder. The sun, moon, the stars and the hunger. Abundance in bundles, blessings and troubles. Towers and tunnels, views and valleys, waves and peaks. Streets shoot from sun, planet Earth.
It's the first song that we made together.
Really? Is this configuration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a killer beat. I guess your hip hop stuff came through, your background in hip hop.
Well, all right. So we spent some time, about a couple months in this. Like we spent about probably like 2 or 3 weeks prior to coming to this point in the studio, working together, and the music we were making was good, but it wasn't like what we needed to be. So by then it was July. I've already been in the group since May. So yeah, a couple months. Mm-hmm. We were touring.
We were in France.
Yeah, we were touring overseas. So we were in France. I remember, I had this new piece of equipment called a machine, and that I've been using.
It's called a machine?
It's called a machine.
That's the name they give it?
Yeah.
That's not a very good name.
It causes a lot of like the machine, a machine, no, the machine.
No,
the machine. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
There's an S.
There's an S.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
M-A-S.
That doesn't come
M-A-S.
through.
C-H-I.
That explains it.
Yeah.
Right. The machine.
Yeah.
Well,
the machine. Yeah. So you got the machine.
Yeah. So basically, it's this 16-pad MPC controller like thing, and it runs on a computer that it's like a DAW, but without actually having a DAW. It's actually all sample based stuff.
Okay.
We loaded it up and basically took this on tour, and it's the first time that we really got to use it. So we were in France for a couple days. We had like a travel day, then we had like a day to get like through jet lag, and then the next day we were supposed to tour, or next day we were supposed to play France. And that day we were just kind of adjusting. We had nothing to do really, and we were kind of in a quiet part of town. There was nothing really going on. So we all set up a studio session in my room, and Bear brought this speaker, like a little Bluetooth speaker that we hooked up to, a JBL thing.
Yeah.
Set it up, and then we made this.
You built the beat together.
Yep, right from start to finish.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened really quick. It was like an hour it took to finally get the basic idea, and with the intention of making an anthem-like song, like Electric Power, I guess. That was the inspiration behind it.
Original nation, we pan solid, we with true and living, we true and living. Tribe called the R.E.D. Tribe called R.E.D. Tribe called the R.E.D. Tribe called.
Yeah, so yeah, we made really hard-hitting drums, anthem-like, and then we added this bass line to it, and then we added vocals to it first, and then that determined how we were going to create the melody behind it.
You mean the vocal in the chorus?
Yeah.
The Tribe Called Red thing?
Yeah. And then I just basically, again, Robert sent those stems, and I actually, no. This session came from
You're not under oath here.
I know,
it's fine.
no.
If you get something wrong, it's fine.
Yeah, but this is kind of important because these sessions that I used for the vocal parts of it were from our Manawan session.
Oh.
So we actually got to record our own drums and our own vocal. We got to basically record Black Bear, who are longtime collaborators of the group. Right. We got to record them the way we wanted to. So we set up mics the way we wanted to. We mixed it the way we wanted to. And then we got, basically all these stems really, really, really like in detail. So yeah, like the red chants were something that I asked for from them.
From Black Bear.
Yeah.
And so, Ian, who or what is Black Bear, just for people listening?
They're a drum group from northern Quebec in a community called Manawan.
Oh, I see. Right.
And they're Atikamekw people, and they're world champion singers. They've won the Gathering of Nations powwow.
They were host drums there.
Host drums.
Heavy people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are they've been around forever, it seems like. So like, and they've grown together too.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, they're just like a huge family.
Okay.
Yeah. And they became like an extension like of us too, like in a way too. So yeah, recorded them, got them to do like there was a chant that I got them to do. It's like I got them to say a tribe called Red, and they chanted Red really loud. And we did like a couple other ones too.
Has anyone besides me mistaken that for a sample? At one point, I thought that A Tribe Called was Jay-Z. I actually thought that was the one and only Sean Carter. Like, I had to listen. No. I decided at some point it was not, but I thought maybe that was a sample.
No, but Narcy will probably like that. I sampled Narcy saying A Tribe Called Red.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, that's basically how the sample went. And then when we finished the song, we called it actually Stadium Powwow.
Oh, okay.
And we were like, this is this next single. That's what we just kind of had it in our head that's what it always has and always would have been, actually. And we actually did release it on its own called Stadium Powwow as a single.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's. I want to ask Bear about the inclusion of Narcy and Yassine Bey, because they really propel this song forward. And tell me how this hookup happened.
Well, I was mentioning earlier our road manager, Buddha. He's been with us now for like 5 years or so. And he's a really tight friend. We were good friends before he became our road manager. He's also a DJ and a photographer and an artist in his own right. And he's the DJ for Narcy and for his group, and has been for a number of years.
And where's Narcy from?
He's based in Montreal.
Okay.
Also, Buddha is from Ganawage, so that's the connection there.
I see.
And it was really like a chance kind of meeting. We were in Montreal at the right time in the right place at a shoe store, and got a text that you guys should stay there for a few more minutes as Narcy's going to stop by with Yassine.
Oh, so Narcy and Yassine are tight.
They had already known each other. Narcy's real name is Yassine.
Right, yeah.
And they had
that's
met
part of the song.
Yeah.
Yassine and Yassine, yeah.
Well, yeah, he was like, Narcy had just finished changing his name from the Narcissist to Narcy. Ah. So, and then after Yassine got on the whole Yassine and Yassine thing, he was joking. He's like, man, I got to change my name again. Everyone's just going to know me as Yassine. So it was really the friendship that those two guys had already had between them, and then the friendship that we had with Narcy that brought us all together in a shoe store in Montreal.
And do you have any insight? Does anyone here have any insight about the content? Do you when you work, because there's so many vocalists here, do you work with them on what they're talking about? Do you work with them on what the lyrical content might be in?
Not all the time. With that, like, we were in the studio with both Narcy and Yassine while they wrote the lyrics to it all. So it was pretty cool to see everybody's the way they work creatively. It's really cool to see the inside to that. And as we go through, you'll see like a lot of the lyrical content did come out of like conversations we had just in the studio hanging out. We'll get into that like on next tracks, but definitely like hanging out. It was all written in the studio while we were all there, which was really impressive.
And what do you make of what they came up with? I assume you're big fans.
Well, Narcy recorded his verse, and then Yassine like was like, okay, and he rewrote more verse and was like, let me re-record. Yeah.
So Yassine had to step up his game after hearing what Narcy did?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's the subtext of how hip-hop... I can see that happening. Oh, shit, I got to step up.
Totally.
And then it ends up with Yassine leading the track.
Yeah.
Right. Not to say any one verse is better. We're not saying that, right, guys?
They're both brilliant.
Amazing. Okay. We move on now to a song featuring Saul Williams and Chippewa Travelers. This is called The Virus.
The virus took on many shapes. The bear, the elk, the antelope, the elephant, the deer, the mineral, the iron, the copper, the coltan, the rubber, the coffee, the cotton, the sugar, the people. The germ traveled faster than the bullet. They harvest the mountainside, protect the crops, herd the cattle. The people, the people, the people, the people.
Yeah, this is another one that we did in the studio with Saul. And so, it came from all of us being together. It wasn't something that we came in with anything pre-made for. We really started working on a beat with Saul in the moment. And the same thing with what he was writing for us, and he would go in and he would record some bits, and then we'd start messing around with it, and he'd say, well, don't use it like a voice, use my voice like an instrument.
Yes.
There was a lot of like back and forth like that while we were in the studio creating the track. But again, it's one of those tracks that went through a whole bunch of different incarnations before it got to where it is in the end. But one thing that I think was really important from the start in the virus was the breathing.
The people, the people, the people, the people.
And that was a sample that's one of the few samples that came from the original session, eh?
Yeah, I mean they all did. Yeah, they're all from that. But yeah, that was one of the things. Because
Is that his voice?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, everything that we worked on beat-wise in that session doesn't even make it to what that actually is.
That's what I mean. I think that's the only like sample that we had that was in that song in the studio with Saul was the breathing, and we stripped everything else away from it other than the breathing. I remember at one point it coming down to just that breathing, and then we rebuilt the song from there.
Just to contextualize the breathing a bit, can anyone? Let's go with Ian. Actually, Ian, can you, in your best, the best you can you talk about what this song is about, so to speak?
Yeah, it's about the idea of people being used as currency, as commodities, and how that feeling and knowing that there's this oppression and that you're being talking about the virus and how that knowing that indigenous people were wiped out essentially with a virus, with smallpox, and knowing that quoting things that like the virus traveled faster than the bullet, it just like invokes a lot of these things and telling things that we felt were super empowering, realizing that in Canada there was no great Indian war. Right. So they're like, we're not a conquered people, and him saying that like I think it's like a really powerful part, and recognizing what really happened in the history of Canada.
And so were these phrases things he conceived of? It
came out of conversations. This is what I was going to get at. So these are things that we all sat around and talked about. Like, you're hanging out with a mind like Saul Williams. You know what I mean? Like a lot of serious politics come out, and quotes like that come out, and you see him, writing stuff like that down during all of our conversations.
Right.
And then you'd get into the booth and start saying these lines that he had, and then we sifted through it all and kind of put it together.
Yeah, I forget, maybe it was Tim. Were you talking about Saul suggesting use my voice as an instrument? Was that you? There's a percussive quality to that. The compound is on fire. Like it has a rhythmic. That's a rhythmic phrase. You know what I mean? And the way you've purposed it in the song, it really works as a rhythmic instrument.
That's totally Saul. Like what I basically learned in that session was like I got humbled really quick because he's also like a great producer.
Yeah.
So he pushed me to the limit, like as far as like what I could comprehend, and what I got out of it, it taught me to let go and just kind of and just go with the song, I guess. And rather, I wasn't in control anymore. It was like this thing inside my head was kind of more in control, more than where he pushed me. But what I would say about his performance on the song was probably the most incredible, most powerful thing I've ever saw from a vocalist.
Really?
He put it all. The way he said the words, the way that he gestured, the way he set himself up when he recorded, the way how it was recorded, it was all planned, and it was very important to keep the rhythm of how he said the words versus chopping them up or doing anything. Like, it was very important to keep the flow and the actual rhythm of everything.
Right.
So I think the song was sped up slightly more than the original one was. So his vocals are a little bit sped up, but we've kept the rhythm. That was very important.
Right.
That was the most important thing about the whole thing.
Chippewa Travelers? Who are Chippewa Travelers?
Again, another powwow group
Yeah.
that's Tribal Spirit records, and they just come that comes from a sound bank that we got from
it's a
them.
sound bank, okay.
Yeah, from stuff that they've recorded for us and for their albums and stuff. That's where that come from. And then that last 3 months, that's where that song came together.
In the last 3 months.
Yeah. We come together and we, like Bear said, we just took the breathing and we built a whole song around that.
Yeah, I wanted to revisit the breathing in terms of it being a very human sound.
Yeah.
To tell this very human story.
Yeah, we made it basically into a hi-hat or some sort
That's
of
right.
sort of like percussion stuff that, like chopped it up into like a couple pieces and then replayed the breathing.
Right.
Actually, I remember we did this song in Toronto when it finally started to come into fruition, and I had a death in the family. I had to leave right in the middle of the session of this. But yeah, that's where that song kind of comes from, and then we picked up the pieces a couple months later, and then we basically made it into that. Sound-wise, again, modular synths. We created all our own sounds basically with that song.
You make a point of, are you making it that point because of any perception of what you do?
What do you mean?
Well, I think that when people hear electronic music, they assume a lot of the sound is coming from banks. It's coming from, prefabricated stuff. You've made that point a few times about this song. This is modular. We did this.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's a purposeful point to that. Do you get?
It's because we're trying to create like the mood of that. We couldn't find it in anywhere.
Right.
Like we couldn't find it, especially like working with powwow vocals. It's very like unconventional to find like sounds that will go with it. So creating our own sound is basically the go-to when we
I raised the question because this is a group that has redefined electronic music for a lot of people. It's redefined what the parameters of electronic music are. And I think that's why a lot of people were like, what the hell? I didn't know this could happen, So there's a lot of innovation in what you do, and I wondered if that's why you raised it. I don't think it is, but I suspect it might be. I don't know. There's probably that,
Yeah, we wanted, it's basically, again, it goes all the way back to the beginning of how we first started this. We wanted to evolve the sound.
Yes.
And then sometimes it took us into territories that we've never been to before. And like, even it comes down to rhythms and like different styles of beats, all of that stuff, all the different styles of productions, even the approaches that we took were all sometimes uncharted territory for us.
Yeah, I would only add that when you say we wanted to change the sound, I don't think you're necessarily just referring to A Tribe Called Red. I think you might be talking about electronic music. You are altering the course of the music. It's a lot to put on you guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's.
We're in a bunker. I'm trying to get along with everyone.
I mean, we're not creating in a vacuum either.
Yes, exactly.
A huge influence on this whole album is Schlachtoff Bronx.
Oh.
And we went back to their music again and again in this album when we were having this was recorded all over the world in all different studios across the country, and we'd sit down and it was usually Schlachtoff would be one of the artists that we'd play when we got to a new space to hear what the space sounded like, to kind of recenter what we were trying to do.
Right.
And they're a group who makes a lot of their own sounds.
Right.
That's a big part of what they do. But also, when we went to the construction of the tracks, they were a huge influence. And that we had kind of built up, these songs. And when it came down to that last 3 months we keep talking about, and we were editing these songs back, we kept on going back to their music and saying, let's put some breath into this. Let's put some air.
Yes.
They use space and silence so well in their music that we kept on going back to that idea. Let's have 3 or 4 core sounds that put together this song and use those sounds really well and use the space between those sounds really well.
Right.
So, to say that we're changing, we're putting our own flavor on something that's part of the musical movement.
I don't think you're too inside to be aware of it. I'm just saying I think you are changing things. You're changing the perception of lots of things.
Yeah,
musically and culturally.
I think that, especially we just wanted to also just create something that we know that we would feel really good about, this is something new and something of further than we've done before.
You accomplished it, if I do say so myself. Okay, we're going to move on now to one of two completely spoken word pieces. The first is Before, which we're about to talk about. Coming up later is Soon. Before features Joseph Boyden playing a character named Jack.
You have a collect call from an inmate at an alien nation correctional facility. To accept the charges, press 1. Thank you. Connecting now.
It's me, Jack. Listen, you gotta find Charlie. You guys gotta find him. You gotta find him and pass this on to him before it's too late. I think it's too late already, but I'm begging you, try for me. You guys got pull, you do. People listen to you. You know they do. So maybe, just maybe, that kid Charlie, he'll hear this too.
He seems to be making a reference to the story of Channy Wenjack, right? Is that accurate? Did I get all of that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it.
So why is this on this record? What is so we're going through hallucination here. What does Before have to do with the concept of the record, Bear?
Well, the hallucination, like so many things we do, has a lot of different layers to it. And when we were sort of, writing the story of what the hallucination was about, we were writing a lot about the future. And if you look at the virus video, is a lot about that future version of what the hallucination is. The RED video as well.
Right.
Those two stories connect to tell this kind of future vision of what the hallucination would be. What these stories do is connect the hallucination to the present.
Is the present isn't necessarily the alienation, is it?
No.
No.
The alienation would be part of the future.
Part of the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the part of this like dystopian sort of sci-fi future where the alienation is the oppressive force over the entire world.
But the hallucination, if I understand the concept correctly, is a sort of utopian vision or a utopian place. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a haven, I guess.
It's a haven
in this future sense.
It's a nationhood. It's a nation of people that have the same ideologies and the same. So we're rallying behind a banner as a community, and a seal as a community with like-minded ideas of how to be a human.
An particularly enlightened perspective, I believe, right? I mean,
more of like from our indigenous perspective of what nationhood means and what that entails in being community-minded as opposed to self-minded and things like that.
Right. Okay.
I think that John Trudell talked about a lot in his work was the idea that we were forgetting what it meant to be human. You know, if you look at the names that people have for their different nations, the names that people called themselves, it's usually something about the people.
Right.
Right. And that we're forgetting what that means to be a human. And in forgetting what it means to ourselves to be a human, we're forgetting how to treat other people as humans.
That makes sense.
So the hallucination is a return to those values where we are truly being human.
Right. Okay.
So the this future version of the hallucination where people have moved back to a separate way of life that's going back to maybe some informed by some traditional ways as well, but a movement that was led by indigenous people, but included everybody. It was kind of this future vision. The stories in Before and After are more about what was going on before all of that.
I see. Okay. So you have a character. I mean, I know Joe's written about Channy before. This text, where does this text from Before come from? Is that something he wrote?
Yeah, he wrote specifically for
And he's
this.
not known as an actor, per se. He's playing a character here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that, did you did you guide him through this process of like how to read this character?
We all had conversations together in the attic there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember having this conversation about, we brought him the whole, the concept, even the songs. We've had about half of them done, and then he got it.
Yeah.
And he started writing, and then we all kind of came up with this idea together that it was going to be from jail, and the way how it was recorded, how it sounds. We all kind of had that idea that's the way we were going to push it.
Is there a particular reason he's addressing Channy? Just because obviously maybe
he's addressing us.
Oh, he's addressing. Oh.
It's a collect call.
It's a collect call to you, but he's
Yeah.
talking about.
He's talking about Chani.
Okay, so Chani Wenjack's name has become more prominent, in particular because of Gord Downey's record "Secret Path." He's become a symbol of some kind. Why is he? I mean, I know why. I think I know the answer to this, but is there a reason he is conjured in this particular instance that you can talk about? I know this is Joe's thing, but
I think it was kind of meant to be like it meant to link all the projects together at one point. I think that was kind of an idea that we had.
oh, this multimedia thing you were talking about earlier. Like
Well,
no,
I mean linking Secret Path and linking his book together too.
Oh, and with your record.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is a kind of a way to kind of like bring it all together without telling people.
Oh, well, now we've told everyone.
Yeah,
That's interesting. So you were in on that. You were fine with this notion,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh,
This is how we wanted to contribute to the record, and we didn't shy away from it.
We'll talk more about this, I assume, when we get to Soon to close off the record. So let's move on. We're going to go to a song featuring the wondrous Tanya Tagak. This is Sila. I know Tanya quite well, I say. I mean, I've talked to her a few times. I don't know her quite well. I'm just making stuff up now. I know her music quite well. We're friendly. I've interviewed her. I interviewed her like 10 years ago, and, we're friendly. I think she knows who I am. If she saw me on the street, she wouldn't. Actually, she probably would ignore me. But anyway, how did you connect with Tanya for this song, and what do you think? What can you say about this song? Because it's wordless on one level, but on another, it's obviously a vocal.
Yeah.
What can you say about Sila?
Yeah, well, this is these guys. They met Tanya way before like I joined the group. These guys were collaborating before then. So,
Well, we were trying. The idea had been out there a lot like with John, but for even longer, that we wanted to do a song together.
Right.
I mean, Tanya's a big electronic music fan. So for years, she'd been like, give me my jungle track. Give me my jungle track. And we'd play stuff for her. She's like, I want something faster.
She likes energy. We were talking about how Saul's voice, Saul had made this request of you, take my voice and turn it into an instrument. Didn't Tanya say something similar to you? Can turn my voice into that thing you do kind of thing. Was that right?
I think those might have been the exact technical terms.
I was gonna say that sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah. She put it in the machine. Is that what she said? So she wanted to work with you in some capacity. The song is unbelievable. Again, breathing. A lot of breathing. I believe there's a break with some breathing in it, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What is the significance of Sila?
It means air, breath, atmosphere, space. It means all of that stuff together. So it to go with the breathing and the idea of earth and sky. That's where Sila kind of comes in, meaning like atmosphere and earth. And so going back to the original idea of the hallucination patch being of earth and sky. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but the Maxida Marak, Inan means earth, means dirt.
Oh,
ground.
okay. So some elemental things happening
Yeah.
here. Okay. Well, do you want to say anything more about Sila? It's one of these things where I think you have to kind of experience it.
Well, I was with an Inuit friend of mine a few days ago, Vivi, and it was we were sitting in a park right before a storm rolled in, and it kind of got really foggy, and she just kind of looked around and Sila.
Oh.
And it was kind of one of those moments where I was like, okay, You know, it's not just the fog, but it's that feeling.
Right.
You know, when it rolls in and you can feel that change and all of that.
Definitely wind and change. It's rumbling through the song, if I might say.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how it was created basically is like we sent her a beat and she loved it and she recorded over it, which never got and that wasn't even the one.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, we just basically gave her like a high energy beat that we had, and when it came down to those last 3 months again, time to make this album, we decided to basically strip the whole beat away, and then restructure the verses and the breaks and everything, and kind of making the song built around her vocals. And we did some pretty crazy trickery too with like really crazy delay, like trippy stuff that we've never done before, almost dubby almost.
Right.
Yeah, we did some really crazy like different things with that too
to create that space and atmosphere.
Yeah.
And what was her response to the finished song? I'm just curious. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, she liked it. But the finished song...
I wanted some juicy story here.
Well, this finished song, it was another one of the ones where, it took a whole bunch of changes. In that last 3 months, we had built a whole song.
Yeah.
And then literally in the last week...
Yeah.
Pretty much in the last week, it was still that feeling like, I don't know if this song is where I want it to be. And at the time, it was still had a bouncy kind of happy feeling to it still. And then something happened one night in the studio, and Tim put some kind of modulation on the bass that gave it that stutter, that machine gun bass sound.
Yeah.
And we were just like,
I remember thinking like, this is different.
Yeah.
And this is the, and actually we actually came to a part where we're like, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if we do. And then like,
we started sending it around to people like in our circle.
And then I remember Ian's like, I like it. We should just keep it. And then so he was like, all right. And then we just kind of it got to that point and it stayed.
It's a jungle thing. That's a jungle part, I would say, if you will. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah.
I'm as a longtime follower and fan of Tanya's, I'm very gratified by how much she's resonating. Has in the last couple of years in particular.
Me too.
Are you surprised by it? No. I mean, I'm not in that I saw it and I'm like, good. It's I'm freaked out by people and what they accept and don't accept and why it takes so long sometimes for them to get behind something that's just so clearly ingenious, Mm-hmm. So that's just where I'm. It's just when this song comes on, I'm filled with that same joy. Good. Yeah,
she definitely does that. Like her music. You'll be listening to her music and then like get a feeling and not know like, and then you look at the title and it's exactly like the feeling that you're getting from what, and like she does it without lyrics or anything. She's invoking it strictly through like vibration of her vocal cords. You know what I mean? So it's invoking emotion like that is it's special. And to see her live, especially, you know what I mean? It changes the way it changed the way I listen to music. You know what I mean? Like it's not just a structured thing. Like it's a feeling, and it's definitely like the way she creates music is beautiful.
Well, I just am happy to see a real genius actually acknowledged in some way more than she was. Okay, well, I think we've said enough about Sela. We're going to move on now to a song featuring another ingenious performer based in Toronto, Lido Pimenta. This is The Light. Light comes back. The Light was so successful at the box office, you guys made a sequel, put it on the same record. Talk about The Light, because when I hear these two songs, and I don't know, we could maybe combo this. I've never done this before where we jump ahead, but I know they're related in some ways. When I hear this, I'm like, oh, this sounds like a Lido beat. Like this sounds like something she would sing over. So I'm just curious how this union happened and what kind of conversations you had to construct this song together. Bear, we haven't heard from you in a while.
First song finished for the album.
Oh.
The first piece that was completely done.
I know we said RED was.
No,
Yes, the story is changing now.
Wait, no. RED was the first beat made for the album.
That's right. Okay.
Now, the reason it wasn't the first one finished was because we didn't get RED, the Narcy and the Yasin part
the verses,
didn't come for almost a year, more than a year later.
I see.
That was actually almost close to 2 years.
2 years,
2 years later.
yeah.
That must have been kind of fun to revisit it with the actual verses. Like, shit. Yeah.
With The Light, it was the first song that was actually made, done. Like we've been performing The Light for 2 years before the album came out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Live with Lido.
Oh, with Lido.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like she's been a regular person on stage with us. The reason it sounds so much like a Lido beat is because we had Lido and her band in the studio with us.
Brandon's on it, and
that's all Brandon's drums.
Yeah.
I love Lido, and she's remarkable. Her son beat me at 3 straight games of pool last December. He's like 7 or 8, and I'm really embarrassed.
Yeah.
Do you know what's because she's singing in Spanish, I believe? What do you know about The Light? What do you know about what's going on in this song in terms of her contribution? Because again, I don't mean to jump ahead. The second version of the song is in English. Are they related, those two songs? Okay.
Mm-hmm. That was her English lyrics for The Light.
Which the Light Part 2 is actually in parentheses further down the record. It's actually called For You. And I brought up her son because I couldn't help but picture her singing to her son. I don't know if that's what's going on, but
it's about moving beyond hard times.
Yes.
That's in a
nutshell.
In a nutshell.
You can relate to that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody can, I think.
Okay. Well, I think we've explored it. Unless does anyone want to say anything more about Lido and these songs?
Lido.
It's the same thing with Tanya. Like with times we've had Tanya on stage is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But Lido has been a more regular collaborator on stage with us, and it is one of the most high energy points that we ever have at any show.
Yeah.
Is when she comes out on stage with us.
Superhuman being.
Absolutely.
And in being in the studio for the first time with her, and she was like my first like real big project when it came to the album.
Yeah.
It was. She was amazing, you know. She was like really, really kind with me, especially just meeting me that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was really, really awesome, and we just kind of blossomed into this amazing relationship we've had since then.
Yeah, she's a real interesting combination of someone who's got this real warmth and generosity of spirit, but will not take any shit whatsoever.
That's what I love.
It just makes her a very powerful, powerful force. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna move on then to a song featuring Chippewa Travelers again and Oka, Mama Kupi.
Mama Kupi, yeah. Mama Kupi, Mama Kupi, 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 Mama Kupi, yeah. Mama Kupi, Mama Kupi.
The chant that he's saying is, I believe it's from the Victoria Strait Island part of his lineage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he had to like, when we asked him, the way we got to Mama Kupi was that we were working on the song, and Tim asked, "Is there anything you could say? Is there like, do you have something that you could say in your language? Do you have,
Yeah.
So when he recorded it, he actually recorded it saying it through his dig, which is why it's got that echoey sound to it. It's just how he said it through his dig. But I remember after he did it, he was like, you know what, I gotta call somebody,
right,
and make sure that we can use this,
right,
and it's okay and all of that. So it comes from a traditional dance, I think.
Okay, it has that quality. It seems like a dance song.
Details than that?
No, I just remember, when it came down to like actually like putting it on the record, it was right down to the wire, actually, to get the permission. to get permission to use the
protocol, to use language.
It's something
fascinating.
Well, it's something that I think as indigenous artists, it's kind of unique to the way that we have to operate. You know, that we have to operate within protocols and make sure that we're not doing anything that would step outside of how you treat traditions, how you treat things out with respect.
How does that work in terms of traditional copyright, so to speak?
Yeah, well, that's exactly
There's
what I mean. You get
it? Okay.
like the way that songs get passed on is, there was somebody who either it's their song or somebody who has the right to teach that song.
Okay.
So that's how kind of, exactly, traditional copyright would go. So not only is it important to us to have, the copyright and all of that stuff dealt with and, paying the drum groups and people that we're collaborating with, but also that we have their permission to remix
That's
and to retouch their work.
Wow. So it just made it onto the record.
Yeah. And a lot of the protocol actually too, like if we get like into like a movie or sampled or something like that, we go through them too. Like it doesn't just stop with us. Like we have to actually give it to them and see if it's okay.
Right.
If it's something that they agree with.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating background to that song. All right.
Yeah. And we worked on that song in Australia when we did our Australian tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we got to work with like Julian and who is the percussion drum player for him too.
Oh, I see.
And and Stu, our good friend Stu.
We're speaking of Oka right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
We had Kangaroo Stew that session.
How was that?
Delicious.
Was it tough?
Amazing.
Looks like it'd be a tough meat.
It's so
Kangaroo
good.
Well, you eat the
is
tail,
Oh.
Kangaroo tail is like so good.
Really?
Yeah.
So what does it
it's really
taste like?
good.
Something else?
it's kind of porky.
It's kind of porky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pork?
Fatty. Like it's really good. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. You didn't kill the kangaroo yourselves, did you?
No.
Okay. They might have an international
An elder. Like they're like deer, right? Like out in,
I guess they would be. Yeah.
The first kangaroo we tried actually was hit by a car.
Oh,
so
like a deer.
A deer, exactly.
Oh, interesting.
But some guys had come from someplace else and picked up a deer on the road. And
they cut it up and stuff.
Yeah.
This took a very disturbing turn. Okay.
that wasn't the kangaroo that we
ate at that.
Oh, it wasn't.
That was a
one.
friend. No, that was a friend who brought some kangaroo stew, which is a whole other deal. This was kangaroo tail.
I've never been to Australia.
Was it Stu's?
The kangaroo stew from Stu's
mom?
Aunt?
No.
Aunt?
Wait a minute. The kangaroo
friend,
stew
just
you
a
had?
friend.
That was a friend,
Yeah.
okay.
There was
Stu's
a guy
friend.
named Stu involved in this kangaroo stew story?
Didgeridoo stew.
Didgeridoo stew.
And the kangaroo stew.
Actually, the guy...
This could be a great kid's book.
Yeah. So the Stu, who does the Mama Koopy, saying the Mama Koopy and plays the didge throughout the whole song, he is... that instrument has been in his family's lineage for generations.
Oh.
So it's been passed down.
Interesting.
The Adaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I was not expecting that from this song. That's quite a number of stories. All right, thanks, gentlemen. Okay, we're going to move on from that weird kangaroo tangent we were just hopping on there and move along to a song featuring Junior Ottawa, JHD. Bit of a mystery to me. Everything going on here. I tried Googling Junior Ottawa, mostly hockey, just like hockey, junior hockey stuff.
Oh, right.
I was like, who's Junior Ottawa? I don't know Junior Ottawa. And then JHD is an acronym that I... Please, enlighten. All right, do your best. A lot of mystery here.
Here we go. You ready?
Wait.
ready?
I don't know. I think the mystery works like wonders. I don't know if this is a nut we should really...
You don't want to talk about this song?
really crack.
Okay, we're just going to leave it behind?
Junior Ottawa is a member of Black Bear.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's his name. He's also like, he won hand drum competitions at the Gathering of Nations, like the big powwow. So
okay.
he's a world-renowned champion singer.
Okay.
So with Black Bear, there's a bit of a language barrier because they speak Atikamekw, their own their traditional language, and French, and kind of a combination of the two.
Oh.
So I mean, even like if you can speak French, even then you're only getting half of what's going on, especially when you're with the whole drum group.
Right.
So Junior is this real smiley guy. He doesn't say a lot, and he's usually just giving you one of those grins from across the room. And I remember when he came to record this, because he just walked up with his hand drum with that grin on his face. Just started singing, and it was just like, okay, get the mics in here. We gotta we're recording this. We're putting this down. But he knew what he was doing to us.
Yeah,
he knew exactly what he was doing.
Because the session that we were doing, we're doing a 2-in-1 at that time. We were recording their powwow record.
Oh.
And we were recording for our record.
Oh,
at the same time.
The Black Bear powwow.
Yes.
I see, okay.
So then the hand drum song didn't have no place in the record because it's a powwow record, so everyone's powwow. There was no hand drum songs on it. So that one came spur of the moment, like
because Junior wanted to sing.
Yeah.
It had no home. It fit on your record.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's another cool song, and I appreciate the insight about it. We're going to move on to a song called, actually, it's by Maxida Morak, and I believe it's called Enon.
She's a force for sure.
She's Scandinavian, is that?
She's Sami. Yeah.
Sami, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
we were that same trip in France. We were going through the ringer on tour, and it was a really bad like a week or two that we were on tour that time, and we come to this festival we were supposed to play in Norway, and we got there at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the sun was still up because it was the midnight sun, and we were kind of cranky, and like
doesn't seem like you guys.
Yeah. So then we get on this bus to go to the festival because it's like an hour and a half, 2-hour trip. So
bus ride after the flight.
After the flight.
Those are the worst.
Oh, the worst.
But this one was amazing.
Beautiful.
Like it was probably one of the most amazing drives I've ever had in my life.
Because of the scenery?
We drove along the ocean the entire time.
Oh wow.
And it was the midnight sun, so the sun came at like the perfect angle. Like we were all kind of like sleepy a little bit, but like you couldn't, like it was just this weird feeling, right? And then we pull up 2 hours later to this, I don't even know how to explain it other than like there was this body of water surrounded by the ocean, surrounded by mountains, sorry. And there was a little gap that went into the ocean. So basically like a big
inlet.
Yeah. And in the middle of it was this dock that went right straight down the middle to somewhere into the middle of the water. And on the dock was 8 fishing huts. And that's where we stayed for a week.
You stayed in the fishing huts?
In the middle of the ocean.
They were dope though. Like they fit people like they had like 3 rooms. So you had like a living room where people could sleep. There was like upstairs, there was 2 beds, there was 2 bunk beds downstairs. But it was like in a space like this big.
Oh, I see.
Like
so it was a hut.
Yeah.
But it was a deluxe hut.
Yeah.
I mean, more than people
really it was comfortable.
With Wi-Fi.
Come on.
Yeah.
What are you gonna
and grass roofs.
And grass roofs.
There's well, that would help with the Wi-Fi because it'll permeate. You're in your house and the Wi-Fi can't get through the walls. If you have a hut, that's a smart move.
But
That's
also
smart
you're
for
on
Wi-Fi.
a dock too, so the water, the tide would go in and out. And
So you can hear the waves.
Where's the modem? Where's the Where's the router?
I don't even know.
But I know that in order that we walked in the dock, we got attacked by birds on the way there.
Attacked by birds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean? They
There must have been
dive
eggs or
bombed
something.
us.
Really?
It must have been their family around there. Thing.
wow.
So, anyways, we get there and we're like, wow, we can't really be mad anymore. And
Yes.
then, like, after seeing all of that,
Yes.
and we were playing this festival called Ridu Ridu, and it's a indigenous festival that they were holding in northern Norway. So it was, and then we met Maxita there.
Oh, that's where you met. Okay.
So I met her at we were eating in the common eating room.
Mm-hmm.
We were eating there, and she was sitting on her laptop, mixing a song, and we kind of struck up like a little conversation. And then she was saying that she's doing it for 9 months. This is her 9th month of doing it, and she was going to be performing.
Doing what for 9 months?
Being an artist.
It was her 9th month.
Her 9th month, yeah.
Look at you meeting people in northern Norway.
Right.
Good for you.
All right. Yeah. So then, everybody there were like amazing people there, like amazing artists from all walks of indigenous life, and it was like life changing and exactly what we needed, because we were in Europe, where there wasn't really too many brown people or even like indigenous people. Like we just felt like not at home.
Sure.
And the moment that we got onto that land, it felt like home, and we were surrounded by people that were like family, that became family.
So Bear, did you all send her this beat? Is this how did this song actually come to be?
The
last 3 months.
Yeah, it was another one of those ones where we had
Last
gotten
3 months was really crucial.
We had gotten some stuff from her when we were in Norway, and we had started on something, but it was very, very preliminary. And
didn't we make some of it in Winnipeg?
Yeah. There's the first version of the song. We actually tried to like use Maxita's like banks of vocals that she gave us, because they do these things. She does this performance called a yoik, and that's basically what you're hearing.
A yoik.
A yoik.
Yeah. It's the traditional songs that Sami people use to call their reindeer.
Oh.
They're traditional reindeer herders.
Oh, and it's a particular way of phrasing.
Every like reindeer herder has their own song that their reindeer will like learn and follow them when they sing it.
There's yoiks for everything. So like when you're born, somebody will write a yoik for you.
Interesting.
And stuff like that. So it's like it's a lot like powwow singing in that it's not words, it's vocables.
Right. Right. I see.
But that also carry these different meanings.
Had you encountered a yoik before?
Yeah.
No, I hadn't heard.
I haven't heard one before.
So this whole performance is a yoik.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there some significance to this particular yoik? You mentioned, people use it to herd reindeer, or when you're born. Do you know what the significance of?
No.
I mean, it's called. You said it's the word
actually,
for earth.
For earth. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. She just called it track 6, and that's when she gave me like a USB full of her yoiks of our 7 tracks of it.
Yeah.
This was like track 6 or track 5 or something like that. Yeah. So then we just picked it up and then built chords around it. Again, analog sounds, like super analog-y. And then like with some like chord generators or something to make it sound so patty, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we based that all around her yoik, and then it went through like in some weird inception, a really slow song, and we tried to make it like aggressive, and then
this was the intro to one of the versions of the song.
Yes.
Then we made it the entire song.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's also, since we're going through firsts and last, it's the last song to be added to the album, I think.
Yeah.
That 3-month thing.
Yeah, because we were basically coming to the end whether we were going to add the song or not, because we were supposed to get a verse from her, because she's a rapper too.
Yes, I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were supposed to get a verse from her, and she was just on a really heavy touring schedule, and then I decided, I think, or we all decided pretty much to like trick out the beat a little bit more and kind of make it more of a song, and it was meant to be an interlude more than anything, and then we just decided to give it its own name.
Do you see any connection between Maxita and Lido? in any way? Like, do you see any complementary aspect to what they do?
Other than being like super badass women, I think they're two different people for sure.
I can see that. I just mean in terms of the way you've got at least two. This is a very a prominent place for women. This record there's women in very prominent places on your record, and a lot of the singing is very because in some ways you can't. If you don't know the language, you're connecting to it purely on an emotional level.
Yeah, and
I feel like in some ways it probably is happenstance, but I feel like there's a similar wavelength to a few of the contributors to your record. Like they seem to be in a similar place.
The women presence on the album was intentional to make it to be that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, being mindful of being a bunch of dudes.
Yeah,
it kind of sucks being dudes sometimes, doesn't it? Just like a bunch of dudes doing stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. We're going to move on to a song featuring Jennifer Kreisberg, who is based in North Carolina, I believe.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, Jennifer Kreisberg. This is a song called The Muse.
Think of me when I'm away, bleeding your love from my heart. Take this distance is more than I can take for you, my love. My love is safe. I'm bleeding your love. I'm breathing your love. Breathing your love.
Bear knew Jennifer for a very long time.
That's it? Bear?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Bear knew
I went
her.
to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Bear, how do you know Jennifer?
Yeah, I've noticed since I was like in my teens. There used to be a group called Ulali, that Jen was a part of, and briefly my mom was a part of as well. And so they were like traditional songs from like North Carolina kind of area. But the big difference in what they were doing was doing like 4-part harmonies on traditional songs, that's normally not seen.
Right.
So that real kind of like bluesy element to what she brings to the Muse, like that's kind of what they were doing.
Okay.
And in this, we kind of asked her to step out of her norm, really. I mean, like she does this like either, like traditional vocal bowls with this very bluesy element to it. But to make this pop song, to write English lyrics was something that was really different for her, and was for her stepping out of her comfort zone to collaborate with something on us.
So she felt comfortable with you, enough with you to get out of her comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough. Yeah, it was tough. We had
as a session. It was tough.
Yes, we had a couple days with her, and we were super patient and with her, and she was patient with us, and we kind of really worked together to help each other take this song to the next place. And because she's such a powerhouse of a singer, we had to step our game up. And this was one of the first sessions we've ever had when the creating of this record, I think. One of the first ones after Lido. Right. It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it that same studio?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then if it was it was the record that we needed for the album, and then we always needed it for this record, and I don't know, and it worked out really well. Yeah. To me, it was.
No, it's a lovely song. It does. Do you think of it as an anomaly on the record? Does it feel like? I'm not saying it's not out of place, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean,
it does. For me, it sticks out.
It's a love song, so in that, yeah.
yeah. There's a certain warmth to it, and like I say, it has a slight poppy framework. That's all. Yeah.
I was super nervous working with her because I'd looked up to her for a long time.
Oh, okay.
I grew up listening to Yulali.
Oh, okay.
And it was
This has been a very educational experience for you, hasn't it? You mentioned Saul and...
You have no idea.
No, I do. I must have some idea. I said it. I had no idea I wouldn't have said that. So I can kind of tell.
Getting a little comfortable here now.
It's hot. I'm sweating a little bit. I'm in my comfort zone. Yeah. No, it's a great song, and thanks for the backstory on that. I think we should move on. Is everyone cool with that?
Yeah.
Indian City, again, Black Bear.
This song was kind of a blur, I think. This was probably one of the songs that was just kind of like, it just happened so quick and it happened so fast. I remember cutting, like, the chopping it up into making the song, and then the genius part is adding the break part. When we were all together in the last 3 months, we added, like, this break, fast break part into the song.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then adding the bass to it was probably the most, I remember it was hard to land on a specific sound. But yeah, this was we meant for this to be one of our higher energy songs that we had for the record.
This might seem like a dumb question, but I ask dumb questions sometimes, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you want to say something further?
And I also want to just say, like, we kept in mind because we have dancers on the road who are b-boys and b-girls, like,
Yes.
So this song we kind of like designed it, I feel like, or with that intention of like having a nice spot to break and to do like
Right.
a really good performance on that part.
Is there anything about your beat patterns, and I'm speaking generally, this song just, it reminded me of this thought I had as I listened to this record. Is there anything about the beat patterns that you want to talk about in terms of how they might relate to the culture that you're representing? Because some of the beat patterns, certainly on R.E.D. or something, I relate to it as a hip-hop fan.
Yeah.
There's certain rhythmic patterns here that I understand them. I can relate to them as someone who appreciates. I'm a drummer, so I can kind of figure that stuff out. But is there something you're conveying in your choice of patterns? Again, it's a very big question, but are you calling upon your history or your culture in coming up with certain kinds of patterns?
For sure.
You are.
Yep. Like I always keep in mind of like how I would dance on a record, I guess, sometimes, and how fast it should go and how the pattern should be.
Yeah.
But more so, this is basically just because of like years and years and years, like the last couple of years of touring with these guys and like hearing jungle and hearing different kinds of like great music that, you know, I was never exposed to.
Right.
So it's a combination. I think no matter what comes out of my hands, it just feels like, you know, like it will always have that feeling to it regardless, and it's just like mixing it in with the knowledge of like in the direction of like Bear and Ian, like just of genre and like what kind of style and stuff is basically how it shapes around.
Right.
I'd say like there's a history and culture that's informing the song, but it might not be the first one that you're thinking of.
Oh.
It's like it's rave culture.
Yes, no.
This is a jungle song.
It
This
is, yeah.
our interpretation of a jungle song.
Right.
You know, and like even that name, Indian City, it like reminds me of, you know, growing up in Toronto when I was listening to that kind of music. And you know, when we went to shoot this video, we shot it in, you know, down around Fort York. You know, it's in downtown Toronto. So it's just that kind of feeling of we were part of this too.
Right. Okay. I appreciate that. Okay. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to a very, very powerful song featuring Northern Voice, Shad, and Leonard Sumner. It's called How I Feel.
Well, I could never imagine the pain in the mother's heart when life takes a turn for the worse and creator's art becomes another canvas that will never be completed. I'm a few degrees away and 1,000 times defeated. My energy's depleted, but I wanna stand and fight, swinging with the spirits that have traveled back into the light. I feel the tears and depression, fears and aggression, woven in society from years of oppression. The violence is normalized, silence is horrifying, truth is denied, and the fact is that more are dying. You don't have to tell me how you feel.
vocalist on this song really steps up. It's unbelievable. I saw Leonard Sumner for the first time this past summer at the Hillside Festival in Guelph, and just mind-blowingly, I can't even articulate how great he was, and how I'm like, oh, well, there's my highlight of the weekend of everything. Like, this guy, from what I saw, is a folk-oriented artist, but a real hip-hop guy, blending the two in a very compelling way. Tell me more about how I feel. I want to go to Ian again, because I feel like we've left Ian out of this a little bit. Ian, it's a banger, if I might say. What can you say about this song?
So Leonard wrote this song and came to us with this, and we were in Winnipeg when we laid this down. And again, it was one of those situations where we got this recording from Leonard, put a beat behind it, didn't really know where it was going. And then we got Shad on it, and then we kind of figured out after the beat that goes with it. It was like a very slow, very different beat that they recorded to.
Oh.
And then we took what they recorded and then remade a beat to match what they recorded.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened with Sela and stuff like that. Like this back and forth. Sort of
I
thing.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
They had one frame of reference. You shifted it.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Without them even knowing, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Right away I wanted to get Shad and Leonard like physically in the studio together.
Oh, okay.
Not just because I thought that they would sound good together, but I realized they were both guitarists.
Yes.
So when we actually brought them in the studio, there's a whole other song that has both of them playing guitar.
Like a totally separate song from this one?
No. This song in a totally different version.
I see.
Where that was part of the collaborative process that got us here, though. Was this idea of getting these two guys in the studio, not just to record as MCs, but to actually collaborate as artists, as musicians as well as MCs.
Go ahead, Tim.
Well, some little quick thing about it is that because the beat that we made initially with the guitar playing on it was kind of mellowish versus what this is.
Yeah.
The verses kind of came out a little not so aggressive, I guess.
Softer, yeah.
Yeah. So what we did was amazing that we had a guy who mixed the record. His name is Dan Weston. That was my big thing. I was like, we need to make these more aggressive somehow. So he put saturation on it. So he made the vocals pop,
grittier,
a little bit more, like that. So that was the cool thing about that, that I remember that. And I remember when I played it to Leonard for the first time, because I lived in Winnipeg and that's where he's from. So I would, I think I had a draft of it, and we listened to it, and he's like, I want to re-record it and be more aggressive. And I'm like, no, man, I'll fix it. Watch. We'll fix it.
Right.
And we did that to it, and he's like, yeah, this is good.
This is another instance on a record where, and I want to be careful how I word this, but there's a couple of instances on this record where you have artists who are speaking about your culture, your history, it's not necessarily their culture and their history. It resonates with them, the struggle, the stories. This is a really fascinating version of this kind of dynamic, because you have Leonard speaking, I think, from a first-person point of view, and you have Shad representing an external point of view, if you will. Why is that dynamic important to include in a song? I'm just curious if that was purposeful, or just this notion of we want Shad and Leonard in a room. But this song has a weird call and response aspect to it. It's called How I Feel. And on one hand, Shad is saying, I know how you feel, That's powerful. And it's an observation I made. And I'm curious if anyone can speak to it as in terms of a dynamic structure.
I think a lot of it came from knowing that Shad was the right person to be on the track. We already knew what Leonard had written. So we couldn't just have anybody feature to be the other feature on that song. We knew it had to be somebody who could write to that
caliber.
Yes.
And just to that same, to be informed enough.
And sensitive enough.
Exactly. It's sensitive enough to be able to tackle that topic, exactly as I said, from the outside, because it's such a dangerous place to be.
Yes.
To have people from the outside
yes.
Chiming in. It could be really scary. but not when you have somebody like Shad.
Yes. Yeah, no, you've got to, as he says in the song, he's like a PhD in a suit, you know? Like he is a wise young man, so I think he's not young anymore. I gave him a little too much credit.
He's not, yeah.
Shad's my buddy. I can say, yeah, you're old now, Shad. Yeah.
And with that song, like that was an instance where we're like we had to take their vocals and remake a whole new beat around it.
Yes.
So we took the energy of what they were saying and created this, my favorite song on the album, just like a moody, urgent, kind of record.
Yeah, it's a song that this is a dangerous thing to say, but I do think it kind of encapsulates a lot of what you all do as A Tribe Called Red. It's got many different flavors and qualities that we associate with you, and it's one of the most, you use the word saturated, but it feels like it captures all your elements in some way very well. So I thank you for that. We've discussed the next song on the record more or less already. For You, The Light Part 2 with Lido.
Everything I do for you, all the hardship we went through, I'll do it all again for you, from the beginning it's true, I'll do it all again for you, all the hardship we went through, I'll do it all again for you,
We didn't touch on at all was that there's almost the whole album is represented in that track, as far as our collaborators go.
Oh, that's the last song.
No, that's actually,
sorry.
That's a Lie Nation, I believe.
I'm jumping ahead.
You're
now.
jumping ahead now. No. No, For You, The Light Part 2 is essentially what we established, as far as we know, it's the English version of The Light, and it has a more assertive, I'd say, vocal approach as well.
Well, the crazy thing about that is that, we meant to release two versions of The Light or switch up the vocals within it, like make it, go from Spanish to English. I meant to have that at first, but then, her performance on the original was so powerful that we just said we had to keep it.
Yeah, I can't help but picture her in the studio singing this particular version of this.
Yeah.
I can just imagine the intensity there.
Yeah.
It's a really...
Yeah. It was something she brought to the table that she wanted to do. She had two versions of the song, and she was writing that English version as we were kind of recording it.
Yeah.
And it was the last thing we recorded in her session, and we kind of kept it in the back. And we had it, and we didn't know what to do with it. We were just going to scrap it, I think, at one point. But then, I remember us getting, For You, that was a really powerful, chant that she was doing. She was singing something really, really powerful. It was it really stood out from the English version. So we took that piece and kind of designed The Light Part 2 out of it.
The production's amazing as well. I will say, we talked about Lido's performance, but the production's fantastic as well. So, yeah, I'm glad you made the decision to keep it. It's really fantastic.
That's another one that's from the final days of working on it too, where we had hit, in that last few weeks, we finally hit this our stride. Really, we were making tracks happen in no time. That Indian City track came together.
Were you on an external deadline by chance?
No.
We were on our personal. There was a lot of pressure.
Yes.
There was a lot of pressure to wrap it up.
Yes.
But it wasn't the pressure that got us there. It was the fact that we had found our sweet spot.
When you get in that zone, when you get in that creative end zone, not like an end zone in football, but when you're in that place, you just want to, milk it.
You
want to keep going.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that sweet spot is that it still exists today.
Yes.
Now that we know where it is.
Now we know where it is.
Right.
So just to give it kind of context, we worked on something recently and we nailed it out in 6 hours.
I want to ask a bit about your future plans in a moment as we're almost done the record. So I do want to finish because this has been quite the exercise. I hope you found this somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah, man.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
No one upped the ante and said, no, it was totally enjoyable. Let's go with somewhat. We're going to go now to John Trudell returns. We have Lido again, Northern Voice, and Tanya Tagak. This is like the curtain call.
The finale.
Essentially. A Lie Nation, which is... in opposition, I think, to Hallucination.
The Hallucination. the human beings, the people, see the spiritual in the natural through sense and feeling. Everything is related. All the things of earth and in the sky have spirit. Everything is sacred. Confronted by the alien nation, the subjects and the citizens see the material religions through trauma and numb. Nothing is related. All the things of the earth and in the sky have energy to be exploited. Even themselves, mining their spirits into souls sold. Into nothing is sacred, not even their self. The ally nation, alien nation.
Let's talk about this dynamic between hallucination, alienation, and what this piece represents. Bear, do you want to try?
Well, I guess part of the reason I jumped ahead of the game there is because we made these songs running into one another.
Oh yes, that's true. That does.
And the sample that we have, the For You sample, gets slowed down and slowed down and becomes part of the alienation.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And that kind of like started the collaborate, like we got to throw everybody on this track.
Yeah.
That's what that started, I feel like, because, we had her and then we had
John
came back for the sec, and then we had
was everyone in the room?
No.
Just
the three of us.
And then when Tanya sent us tracks, she did it over 2 beats. So we had a whole session of hers that we didn't use, that we actually used live a lot. Mm-hmm. But we didn't use that one. So then that's where that one comes back in, and we even put Stu in there from Oka. So he's in there somewhere. And then
Didgery Stu. Is
Didgery Stu.
Yeah,
that's right.
Didgery Stu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in there too. So it is a total like encapsulation of everyone. Most of the people who figure heavily on the record.
Yeah, this is Lito's son's favorite record.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
we should get his son and her son and my son to have a duel about their favorite songs. My son is very opinionated about his favorite songs on this record. Although he's got like 5 favorite songs on your record now. Anyway,
cool.
What about what John's saying here? Can we talk about that? What is he getting at with his spiel in this song?
The other side of the coin.
Right. Is this the future part?
This is what you have the hallucination on one side and you have the alienation on the other side.
Right. And this is if I remember correctly, this is the future, isn't it? Like it's what the future could be.
It's multi-layered. It's
Okay.
the future, it's now, it's the past.
Okay.
It's looking at all those things together.
Have you seen the Back to the Future films?
Yes.
No,
Because
never.
You've not seen
Come on.
I thought maybe there was a Back to
I
the
was like,
Future thing
I probably
happening.
have a Back to the Future.
Do you have a Back to the Future patch?
No.
Or
No,
yeah,
closest I got is Westworld.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's
If I'm wearing a Westworld pin, I've seen Back to the Future.
So there's a science fiction aspect to this record that we've touched upon a little bit.
Totally.
But that's something that people need to delve for, myself included. I did not clue into that. Sci-fi. You're sci-fi fans. You like science fiction. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
So this is some fantastical realm. Is it a warning about anything? This record?
Well, like the alienation. So when you look at it with the words, putting them together, you have a hallucination, something that's not real, something that you can't see, something that's
right.
And then you have the alienation, or being alienated and being left alone. So being like alienated and having the alienation are both like the feeling of being left alone and the oppressive force that's attacking the hallucination, the nation that was put onto us because we're known as a people that they can't see.
Right.
More than a warning, it's a dream, I think. You know, it's,
nightmare or dream?
Well, I mean, I think the dream is the positive part of it. I mean, you know, it's coming out of a nightmare.
Right.
It's realizing that, you know, there's a lot of worry and concern about where the world is today, and that, you know, the word, like things like tipping point get thrown around a lot, and it's realizing that tipping point just has as much positive as there is negative to it. You know, that it means that we're at a point where there's, things are going to go one way or the other, but to be there, you already have to have a lot of people on one side.
Right. Oh, I see.
So it's about, looking towards our future with a certain amount of positivity. Looking at these dark times as not just dark, but as something to overcome, something that can be overcome, that will be overcome. So much of science fiction has become reality in our lifetimes.
Right.
So if we can take control of that energy and start looking and creating worlds of our own that reflect a place where we'd like to see things be, well, then maybe we can be contributing to a different future in that way.
Okay, I can see the optimism there. Okay, I appreciate that. We end the record with Soon. This is the return of Jack, voiced by Joseph Boyden.
Thanks, fellas, for listening all these years, for taking my calls. Our DNA is earth and sky after all. I'll see you three soon as I'm out.
Ho, Ona.
Much love, brother. Stay strong.
All right, Jack. Peace.
Please stay on the line.
You guys, is this you? You're actually on the record? Is this your first vocal appearance on this record?
That's it.
There's one other very brief one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We didn't bring it up, but during How I Feel, there's the part where it comes to the protest.
Oh yes,
and everyone
protest.
Oh yes,
that's the three of us.
That's you as well,
along with my girlfriend Joy.
I see.
We got
Okay,
pulled into it.
Okay, well, I mean, I didn't realize
not
that.
Credited.
Not credited. Well, we spill the beans there. So Soon, what do you want to say about Soon? This is, again, the first appearance of Jack was before. This is Soon.
What I appreciate about these is like the two Joseph Boyden pieces is the recognition of Indigenous people in jail, and having this understanding that we're jailed in this horrible, unbalanced way. Like we only make up 2% of the population, but we're over 25% of the incarcerated in the country, right? So being able to be reflected and showing the incarcerated Indigenous people that we're thinking about them, and they're on the album and they're not forgotten, I think is a really cool aspect that's put on this album.
There's an automated voice at the end that recites 2 phone numbers. Are those legitimate phone numbers?
Yeah.
And what are those numbers for?
You haven't called them?
Not yet. Well, I have a bad long distance plan.
This is some research. You got to go and call them.
I was going to call them, but I also, I got in trouble for calling 976 lines for my dad when I was a kid. I try not to call a number if I don't know where it is. Like, what did this call? Like, I was just trying to talk to Mean Gene Okerlund. I would call them. You call the wrestling lines, and then you'd be like, oh, yeah. It's like the Macho Man, just like a pre-recorded thing. And my dad's like, it cost me $55. What are you doing? So I don't call a number. My point is, I don't just call numbers willy-nilly anymore. My dad gets mad. But actually, we don't live together anymore. What are the numbers? All right, does everyone have to call these numbers?
Everyone should call the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll leave it at that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So like leave it at that.
You're going to leave it at that?
Leave it at that.
Okay.
You know what?
By the way, I called that number too. Did you know Okerlund?
Yeah, the wrestling line?
Yeah,
Did you get in
definitely
trouble?
called the wrestling line.
Yeah, I used to call them and I'd get in trouble.
I got permission.
I did not have permission. I didn't know it cost money. It's like my son. He keeps ordering games on the iPad.
Oh,
and then we're like, what the hell? Why are there 100 games on this? I just clicked them. Anyway, gentlemen, this was great. Thank you for this. Oh, the one thing we didn't really talk about are your future plans. You talked about being in the Sweet Zone still. Is that what you called it? Sweet Zone?
Sweet Spot.
Sweet Spot.
Yeah.
I like Sweet Zone.
Sweet Zone.
It sounds like a candy store.
Or Sonic.
Are you actively working on stuff?
No, actually, we haven't.
You've been touring like mad, right?
Right,
Yeah.
but I will say this: how the album started is that we began collecting content for the record, and then those last 3 months, we basically put it all together. So there's going to become a time when we become activated where we basically start collecting again.
Right.
And then when that happens, that's when I think, our best work is yet to come.
Yeah, our next project will come out of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there one single song from this record that we can play for people right now? Just so they can hear what we've been playing little clips and talking about everything. If there's one thing we could go out on now, what would it be? This is going to be a weird consensus decision. Bear, Bear, can you pick the song?
I always say the hallucination because that's the one thing that
The first thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what you need to hear about this album if you want to understand what we're trying to do.
Okay. So this is John Trudell and Northern Voice and A Tribe Called Red with We Are the Hallucination, the title track from this fantastic record. Congratulations on this.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for this. I know it wasn't always easy, but I appreciate your time, and I wish you the best of luck with everything in the future. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We are the tribe that they cannot see. We live on an industrial reservation. We are the hallucination. We have been called the Indians. We have been called Native American. We have been called hostile. We have been called pagan. We have been called militant. We have been called many names. We are the hallucination. We are the human beings. The callers of names cannot see us, but we can see them. We are the hallucination. Our DNA is of earth and sky. Our DNA is of past and future. We are the hallucination. We are the evolution, the continuation. The hallucination. The hallucination. We are the hallucination. We are the hallucination.
Hey, that was the 347th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Antica podcast network and is available on iTunes, Audio Boom, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Overcast, among others. If you can't find an episode or wish to learn more about me, please visit my website, vishkhanna.com. You can also like Creative Control on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at VishCreative or me at VishKhanna. Listen to a radio show version of Creative Control on Wednesdays at noon Eastern Standard Time around the world at CFRU.ca or on an actual radio at 93.3 FM if you're in or near Guelph. Please visit patreon.com/Creative Control to make a flexible monthly donation. And if you like, take a look at the t-shirts we have for sale. I will send you, they're not for sale, I'll send you a t-shirt if you pledge money to the show. Just send me a note if you want a t-shirt. We'll figure it out. This episode would not be possible without our sponsors, Pizza Trocadero, whom you can call for pickup or delivery at 519-829-2444, or check them out at trocaderoguelph.ca. The Bookshelf, an independently owned bookstore, bar, music venue, and movie theater located at 41 Quebec Street in Guelph. Learn more about them at bookshelf.ca. Planet Bean, freshly roasted, fair trade, certified organic coffee. For more information, visit planetbeancoffee.com. Granddad's Donuts, located at 574 James Street North in Hamilton, Ontario. Great donuts. Visit granddads.ca for more info about them. And have a whole meal's worth of ingredients delivered right to your Canadian home. Visit hellofresh.ca and use the promo code CREATIVE50. That's creative with a K, 50, for 50% off your first order. All right, that's it for me for another show. Thanks for listening. Please continue to do so. Tell your friends to listen. Review the show. Rate the show. Subscribe to the show. Download episodes of the show. Haven't had an iTunes review or rating in a while. I don't know if it matters, but apparently it does with the algorithm stuff. I don't know what any of what I just said even means. Just listen. You're doing fine. You've listened this far. What more can I ask? I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye for now.